Today, I'm going to break down the top 6 books that have completely transformed my life and my business from the inside out. And I'm going to start with 3 that started early on in practice, and then 3 that I would upgrade to today. There's one caveat though, is that if you are watching and you are listening right now, you have to understand that I'm always going to say that the Bible is the most important book that you could read. So I'm going to leave that out of this conversation for obvious reasons. I don't want to be a pastor on this episode. I want to impart wisdom and knowledge in you so that you could have your life and identity upgraded in things other than what you're already doing. And for me, I know I'm going to, no matter what, I'm reading the Bible every single day. I've done it for the last multiple years without missing a day. And I would encourage you to do the same. But the point of this podcast is to give you a little bit more of the strategic pieces of what have helped shape me as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who values my wife and my daughter and family. And that's what this episode is really going to deliver to you today. So let's dive in. We're going to hit those 6 books that have absolutely transformed my business, my life, and my practice. Number 1, 80/20 Sales and Marketing. It is a book all about understanding the math and the science behind what your customers bring value in, how you would market. And so the 80/20 principle, if you're not familiar with it, is a really, really simple principle. And one of the things before I share that principle with you that I think is so profound is that it does not matter where you seek out this principle. You will find it. You can find it in the roads that you travel on. You can find it in your business and where most of your revenue comes from. You can find it if you were looking to learn a new language. All of these places, it is possible to find the 80/20 principle, and this is what the 80/20 principle says. It says that 80% of what you are doing is only getting you 20% of your results. If you wanted to translate that to your business, the way we could think about 80/20 is like this. 20% of the current clients inside of your business, inside of your practice, whatever it is that you do, bring you 80% of your income. Now, this is where it gets mind-blowing because I can remember back in the days in practice, I was kind of trying to please everybody. And I wanted to be a pediatric doc, and I wanted to be a family doc, and I wanted to take care of entrepreneurs, but I also wanted to take care of people with back pain. What I realized is that literally 80% of the money I was making was coming from 20% of my clientele. So what that meant for me is that when I sat down and I looked at who are the top 20% of the people inside of my practice, I realized something very valuable, that was my actual ideal client who I most loved working with, who were the least headaches inside of practice, who I got to add the most value in their life, who appreciated me the most, who I appreciated them the most. And it was so mutual that it only made sense that then that's who I would communicate with in all of my other conversations. So 80/20 was integral in me understanding that 20% of the people you take care of right now are bringing you 80% of your income. And it may not just be because they're paying you directly, but because of who they refer you. And when you get those referrals, they end up being better referrals that stay longer. And there's all these great things. And the coolest part about 80/20 is you can work it backwards too. And you can think about, okay, of all of the 100% of things that I'm doing inside of my business, what are the things that are bringing me the most value? And the idea of it is that only 20% of the things that you're doing are bringing you the highest value inside of your business. So again, for me, one of the things is I realized early on, I was always told that you have to go out and screen. You should go spend a Saturday and a Sunday away from your family at a fair, the fairgrounds, or some other event in front of a Ralph's or in front of a Walmart, and you should screen and see if you can get people to sign up to come into your practice, and that's the way you generate leads. But here's what I found is that I love speaking. I also realized that speaking, I only do like 20% of the time, but here's the coolest part of it is when I speak on stage for an hour, I can literally get triple the amount of people to come into my practice as I can if I spent a whole Saturday and a whole Sunday screening at some event. And I'm not saying screening is wrong, but what I realized for me is that when I broke down the 80/20 principle in my life, 80% of the results of my business come from me speaking on a stage and teaching other people about chiropractic. And this is the most valuable thing because then I know where to use my energy. So I'm not taking time away from my family. And it's just been an absolute game changer. So number 1, the 80/20 principle, Perry Marshall. Book number 2, one of my all-time favorite books, Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. the whole point of the book is understanding this concept called framing. And while I don't need to necessarily define what framing is for you, it's understanding that there is a communication hierarchy that happens in every single conversation that you would ever step into. And what I learned from this book is that if you don't understand frames, then you are likely in an inferior position, specifically when it comes to sales or negotiation. And this can work inside of marriage. This can work inside of business deals. It can work inside of sales conversations. And my favorite thing about the book is that he's so great at telling stories. So what I learned about framing was often I would have people come into my office when I first started practicing. And the classic case would be this, is someone would sit with me during an exam and they would say, you know what, Dr. Daniel, that's great. You're young, but I've been around this chiropractors. I've been seeing chiropractors for 40 years. And I know at T5, they just got to pop my rib in on the left-hand side. And it led me to this place of frustration because I would end up doing exactly what the person wanted me to do, pop their T5, and then their rib was back into place and they felt better, but they were using me like a Tylenol. And it always frustrated me, but I didn't know how to overcome the conversation because I didn't understand this idea of framing and pitch anything. And so here's what I realized, and the conversation that I can have now with people is that if you've been seeing a chiropractor for 40 years and they keep popping in the same T5 and it keeps quote unquote coming out again, then I would argue that they're not actually addressing the cause and they're missing the whole boat. We should be able to get that to go away permanently. And so when I understood framing, what was happening was I was in an inferior position and I wasn't the authority. People were telling me how I should adjust them, but I'm the doctor. It should have been the opposite way around. So Oren Klaff's book was great is because it allowed me a place of confidence and certainty to communicate the value of the chiropractic adjustment the way that we do it, how we wake up the brain, and how we could get rid of somebody's long-term things that they had happening without being framed or without being inferior and without feeling like I wasn't the doctor. Because one of the things I know is like most people don't walk into their medical doctor and say, these are the medications that you're going to put me on and I request them right now. But a lot of chiropractors feel that same pain. And so Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff has been an absolute game changer for me because it's allowed me to have the confidence and certainty to realize that someone is coming at me with a frame about the way in which our conversation and our interaction should go. And understanding framing, we can break that, reframe it, and then get someone in our world where they understand that we're going after more than just a symptom, but we're trying to address the cause. Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. Book number 3, Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. While there's so much, this book is packed with information, it's packed with knowledge. The point of the book is to teach you how to communicate to people. And it requires, understanding a hero's journey and requires you understanding how to tell a story. It requires you to understand what I think is the most important part of the book is actually connecting with people. One of the things that I realized when I was very early on in practice is I had a messaging that did not connect with the community that I lived in. I live in Southern California. It's beautiful here. People are active 300 days out of the year because it's so beautiful and so sunny and we're always go, 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 go. And I was communicating a thing and a lifestyle that people already inherently believed in. So it created this place that they didn't actually think that they needed chiropractic care or they didn't need to address their brain because everybody thought they were already healthy. So I was talking about health so much, but it was confusing people because everybody talks about health. Nutritionists talk about health. Functional medicine doctors talk about health. PTs talk about health. All these other modalities talk about health. And so what I realized is like nobody wanted to hear the health conversation. They wanted to hear other conversations about performance and productivity, and profit is a big thing that we talk about, but not just making more money, but profiting from life experiences. So Russell Brunson's book was key. And me understanding that in order to get people to connect with me as a business owner and want to do business with me in the first place, I had to tell a story in a certain way. I had to create this hero's journey in a certain way and get people to understand that the same exact pain that they are going through now is the same thing that I had experienced. And so Russell Brunson's book, man, it teaches you so much. It can teach you how to set up a webinar. It can teach you how to set up a talk. And I've used elements of all those things, but I think the biggest piece, if we just boil it down, is that you have to understand that one, you need to care about the people that you serve. This is not any of these books that I've shared so far. They're not just tactics or strategies to get more customers, but there has to be a genuine care in the person that you serve and really truthfully wanting to get them a result. Because if you are out for ulterior motives, or you're just out for yourself, or you're just looking to make more money, like, you might be able to do that, but people are going to sniff it out, and it's going to make your life so hard. And what this is really about is just bringing more joy and happiness to the world. And for me, really showing people that they have an expression of life within them that is higher than what they believe that they're capable of right now. And the coolest part is that God gave it to them. So Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, really unlocked this for me. Is like, how do we connect with people in the deepest level possible so that we get the opportunity to change their lives, which we know that we can do through the businesses that we have. Here's the craziest part of these 3 books. So when I was told to stop reading everything else and read these 3 books, I read them each 4 times in the course of that year. So I was reading Expert Secrets, and then when I was done with it, I would go to 80/20 Sales and Marketing. And then when I was done with it, I would go to Pitch Anything. So I've read each of these books at minimum of 4 times, but I've read them more than that. Pitch Anything, I think I've read 6 or 8 times now. And here's what's cool, and this is what's special, and I think this is the cheat code to all of it. Not only did I just read the books and highlight like I would do anyway, but when I was reading these books specifically and why they transform my identity and the things that I know and the thing that I can deliver to someone else to help potentially change their life is that when I would read for 10 minutes a day, and anything that I would read in those 10 minutes, I would literally journal in my computer. I still have the notes that I would figure out, how can I apply this to my business? And I would ask myself that every day. How could I apply this to my business? How could I apply these 10 pages to my business? How could I apply these 10 pages to my business? And oftentimes the first time through, I had big question marks because I'm like, I don't really know. And I would just wrap my head around and really get my brain into this place of trying to create something that had really never been created before, I think, in the chiropractic space. And it's gotten us to this place where it's become so easy. And I think a lot of people look at what we built and they think like, oh, you're just a natural at speaking. But a lot of it came from just doing this work every single day, unrelenting. And so I've read the books, each of them at least 4 times, or in class books 6 times, because I think it's amazing. And this is how I pretty much read every book. The next 3 I'm going to share with you, I've done the same as well. I haven't read them as many times because they're newer, but the principle stands the same, is like taking notes for implementation, not just reading them for consumption.
So this is the process of becoming, as opposed to just looking at information.
It's 100%. And I think that when we talk about becoming, you have to create new pathways within your brain. And to do something one time and think that you're going to get it all, I just don't think it's reality. And God gave you a specific identity. Like, you already have it. It's already in there. It's outside of the wiring in your brain. But you can wire your brain in a way that blocks you from your God-given identity. And I think that these books, in a lot of ways, wired me to believe that I could actually help people. And that was a huge breakthrough, because before I had limiting beliefs around that. So I'm not saying that these are going to be the books for you. These books were integral in my experience as a business owner. But the principle stands true, is like diving into whatever it is that you're reading and not just doing it one time through and then putting it on a bookshelf and letting it collect dust, but actually letting the things that are inside these books like permeate every cell of your nervous system so that you can literally become a different person. Because the way in which the world works is, first you become something new, and then you be that person today, and then you will start to do the things that that person that you want to become would do, and then you will have the things that that person would want to have. And so there's this principle of be, do, have that's involved in all of it. Yeah, you can't do anything once and expect to be an expert at it. And I think that's where a lot of people spend, 80/20 is just such a great book to think about. It's like, if 20% of your efforts get you 80% of your results, wouldn't it be great to know what 20% to focus on so you're not wasting your time? And so many times I see people focus on the wrong thing, or not even focus on something long enough to actually realize that that's a 20% that they should continue to do. And they jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and they end up failing, and then they don't ever become exactly who God called them to be because they're chasing something that's really outside of themselves. Where I'm at now, though, would be a totally different book recommendation set. And I'm going to give you 3. These have been integral to me in a lot of ways and a lot of different scenarios. And I think the number one book that has transformed my life was recommended to me by a dear friend who is also a client of ours. The book is called From Here to There by Apostle Izzy Igbenga. And I may be pronouncing her last name wrong, but that book is just absolutely on fire. So here's the premise of the book. The premise of the book is that we all have transition seasons in our life. And when we have those transition seasons, they can be challenging to go through. And her argument in the book is that when you go through a transition season, if you don't get the lesson and understand why you're going through the season, then likely you will miss and you will have to go through that same transition again. And so she lays out a very step-by-step detailed process on how to make it through transitions. But here's the most important thing that I've taken from the book. I've talked about before, earlier this year, we had a bunch of different challenges in our lives. And one of them being, there was an audit by the California State Employment Department, and we had some other things, and we're all good because we're above board on everything. But the fact that we had all these challenges really broke Heather and I down. And it was almost this, we just felt like we were getting beat down from all areas, big tax bill because our parents had passed away. We had some other big things and just all these struggles, right? But reading Izzy's book, this is what I realized, that for me, these things were actually allowed by God because he wanted me to be able to step into the next level of abundance. And so it took more faith and it took more trust in him and it took more belief in him. And it took me to realize that God was leading me somewhere. And so instead of taking the season as frustrating and being hard on myself and being grumpy at Heather or feeling like somebody was needed to be blamed for it, I got to step up boldly, make decisions for my life, and realize that no matter what, as long as I was obedient to God, that I was going to be taken care of. And it is the most smooth transition into a fun season that is just now starting in our lives that I've ever had ever. And I literally have to attribute it to how she was able to bring the principle that God is leading you somewhere into your life and lay it out in a step-by-step process where she asks you questions that you can go through and answer, which I did the same thing with this book that I'm telling you about the other books too, is I sat and I would journal on how could I implement this in my life and my business every single day. And it's been absolutely transformational for my mind. It's been absolutely transformational in the way that I experience stress on a day-to-day basis. And I can honestly say that stress has kind of just melted away because I realized that a lot of the things that I used to be frustrated by are actually gifts from God to help elevate me to the next level. So I can say thank you for the challenge. I can be excited for the challenge instead of being frustrated or feeling like, there's some enemy trying to attack me somewhere. Next book. This is a book by W. Philip Keller. The book is called As Shepherds Look into Psalm 23. Now, you've heard me talk about it before. Psalm 23 is my absolute favorite Bible verse of all time. And it gets back to what I was talking about with Izzy's book, is that it really lays out this premise that God is leading us somewhere beautiful, and we just have to trust that he is doing that. But the special part about this book is that he lays out a very specific, detailed process of what it looks like to be a shepherd. And so shepherd is someone who takes care, a good shepherd takes care of the flock well. And now Jesus is an amazing shepherd, but we also have people in our lives that we should be shepherding. And so I learned so much in reading literally the details about how they protect these sheep from flies and how they take sheep up into the mountains and down into the valleys and all these things that shepherds do, how they guide the sheep, how they protect the sheep, how they save the sheep if they get themselves into trouble. And for me, I realized this is a book about Psalm 23, but it's also a book about leadership. And I would argue it's the most important and most valuable piece of leadership possible. And here's what I've realized is that as I have read that book and let it permeate my soul, I have become a better leader myself, where I can actually care about the people who work for me, who, we're on the same unified front. The way we set goals is better. The way we have conversations is better. Our authenticity and our communication, literally every piece of my leadership is better as a result of reading this book. And suffice it to say that you are a shepherd to someone. It just depends on if you're a good one or not. And he lays out the case that like really poor shepherds will do certain things and really great shepherds will do certain things. And he shows us how Jesus was a great shepherd. And he shows us through the journey of being a shepherd himself and what he learned, how we can shepherd people in our lives, whether it's in our businesses, whether it's our teams. And it's one of the most special books because it's really just allowed me to unlock this understanding of how do you treat people as a really, really, really good leader. This book right here, I have to read the title because the title's so long. It is an older book, but it has changed. If you're a chiropractor or you're interested in learning about physiology and how the brain works, this is like one of the most game-changing books because it's shaped my philosophy and trusting at a deep, deep level what God gave us from a physiological perspective and how our body truly heals. So if you're someone who is, even slightly interested in like, what does the science say behind this vitalistic principle that the body's self-healing, self-regulating, self-maintaining, this is the book for you. It's called The 14 Foundational Premises of the Scientific and Philosophical Validation of the Chiropractic Wellness Paradigm. That's a mouthful. But all that means is that there is a very specific scientific process that has been proven, that has been repeated by science, that shows that chiropractic care done really, really well wakes up the frontal cortex of the brain, and that allows healing on all levels. So this book has been transformational to me for a number of reasons, but the number one reason is this, is that when I sit with clients in my practice, time and time again, people ask me the same question, and it's really, really simple. They say, where did you learn this? Because I've never heard it before. And the reality is that God told me long ago when I was in chiropractic school, he said, tell people the truth about how your body works. And this book right here is the truth about how your body works. And so my job, my mission in life was to literally figure out how can I break this down into something that would be relatable and able to be understood by anybody. Whether it was my dad, and I kind of use him as the baseline of I'm like, if my dad could understand it, then anybody can understand it. So I spent years in chiropractic school reading this book. I spent years outside of chiropractic school refining my understanding of this book. And it truly, for me, has permeated every piece of my existence. And this is what I think is so special about it. It lays out the science of how stress negatively affects the brain and how the chiropractic adjustment can literally wake up the brain. And it's chock with science, it's chock with research. But here's the special piece of it. Every time that I read this book, it revalidates the fact that what Psalm 139 says, that you are beautifully and fearfully and wonderfully made. And God created us perfectly, and this book proves it over and over and over again. Every time I read the book, I am more blown away, and I realize how profound it is and how perfectly and how insanely intelligent our bodies are, that it literally needs no help from the outside to operate. It just needs no interference, and that interference comes in the form of stress that then negatively affects our brain, that then negatively affects our body. And so if you're looking for the truth, in my opinion, about how your body functions neurophysiologically, this is the book that you have to read. And if you're a chiro, it will transform your practice. If you're a PT, it will allow you to understand the brain in just a little bit different level. And it's been an absolute game changer for me in my life. And it proves true every single day in practice. Now you have what I did back in the day, and you also have my recommendations knowing what I know now. My advice would be is that when you dive into these, give yourself the time to let them permeate your soul so that you can be transformed by what you're reading. There's no other transformational book other than the Bible, but outside of that, if you are a business owner or a practitioner that is looking to upgrade your knowledge and skill level, I truly believe that these are some of the top books that I could possibly recommend. They'll change your life. You got to do it. Hey, I hope you guys found this super helpful. If you did, drop your favorite book in the comments. I would love to know what you're reading that's transformed your life. Couple other things. One, if you are interested in learning about the scripting or some of the background business pieces that have permeated everything that we do inside of Nexus Family Chiropractic, and you're looking to learn more, reach out to me. You can literally message me on Instagram. Just follow me at Dr. Daniel Kimbley. Message me. Tell me you're interested in learning more about the scripting or what we do inside of our business and how these have been implemented inside of Nexus Family Chiropractic. I would love to have a conversation with you there. And YouTube thinks you're going to want to watch this video. And if you want to save 7 years of pain and business and learn from my 7 years of mistakes, check out this video.